about manpower planning and budgeting. Manpower planning is basically deal with the coordinating, motivating and controlling of the various activities within the organization. It is no doubt planning is the most essential factor for each and every organization. Without planning, no organization can fulfill its goals. Generally, human resource planning is also called manpower planning. Manpower planning is the development of strategies to match the supply of manpower to the availability of job at organizational, regional or national level. Manpower planning involves reviewing current manpower resources, forecasting future requirements and availability, and taking steps to ensure that the supply of people and skills meets demand of any organization. Though the organization of men for managing a purpose is an age-old thing, the science of management is still in nascent stage. Manpower is a primary resource without which other resources like money, material, etc. cannot be put to use. Even a fully automatic unit such as an unmanned satellite require manpower to execute it and plan future improvement or activities. That is why man learned the use of manpower much before he learned to use other resources. In order to achieve a goal, manpower requirement needs to be accessed, located and harnessed. Manpower planning requires not only a simple assessment of the number of men required, but also their categories and skill as well as their balanced allocation. Improper planning may lead to either overstaffing or understaffing, both of which should be avoided. Overstaffing not only increase direct cost, just like salaries, but adversely affect the cost of training, housing, amenities, etc. Besides production cost, understaffing also affected production morale and therefore industrial relations. Optimum manpower planning therefore assumes importance. It should aim at avoiding imbalance in distribution or allocation of manpower, controlling the cost aspects of human resources, formulating transfer and succession policy. Goal and objectives. We can discuss the 13 main objectives of the manpower planning. Demonstrate understanding of competency-based approach in human resource. Utilize tool in identifying current staff competencies and gaps, the organization's goal and its target. Third is demonstrate skill in conducting training needs analysis. Formulate strategies for addressing identified training needs. Prepare and design training modules and develop curriculum for training courses and the cost estimates. Demonstrate the ability to have the human resource development plan approved by the appropriate decision making body. 6.1 is design different training programs to meet specific needs of particular group. 7. Formulate details implementation schedule. 8. Design evolution tool. 9. Implement training and development activities program and its plans. 10. Write a professional report. 11. Demonstrate knowledge on using relevant analytical tools for the planning. 12. Explain the relationship between the organization strategies plan and the strategies human resource development planning process. The last, conduct a comparative study on the current human resource development planning process. Type of manpower planning can be distinguished by the two categories. First is on the basis of the level at which it is done and on the basis of the period for which it is done. Manpower planning at the micro level, or we can say on the basis of the level at which it is done, we can discuss manpower planning at the micro level, or we can say at the national level. Manpower planning is done on the national level as a part of the planning for overall economic development. The objective behind this is to provide more and more opportunities of employment while utilizing the human resources of the nation most effectively. It goes without saying the proper manpower planning is a high necessity in a developing country like India. In Britain, Manpower Research Section of Employment and Productivity Department undertaken necessary step for manpower planning. In India, manpower planning is a part of overall planning, and so its responsibilities lies with the Planning Commission. Manpower planning by the Planning Commission covers population projections, program of economic development, education facilities, occupational distribution and growth, and industrial and geographical mobility of the personnel. Manpower planning at micro level. As manpower planning is important at the national level for the maximum use of its manpower resources, it is also necessary at the level of a business unit. Manpower planning is important because it decided the various measures to be taken such as recruitment, selection, promotion, transfer, expansion, etc. by a business unit. In order to fulfill future manpower demands, the manpower planning is possible at three levels in a unit. First, at the department level. Second, if there are a number of factories of the company, the planning can be done at the level of each individual factory taken apart. And third, at the top level, that is by the board of directors in a company. If the manpower planning is done at department level, two advantages can be derived. Firstly, the advantage of the knowledge of those who are in direct contact with the workers can be taken. And secondly, if the people who are going to execute the plan take part in the planning process, the probabilities for source of the plan would be surely higher. Budgeting for the HR requirements. Budget approved from the manpower plan of each department project are sought in writing from the department head or the project manager. All require are requested are request for an increase in headcount or related employees costs must be supported by a business case at the beginning of the calendar year and sent to the HR manager so that the costs are included in the budget for the particular year. Developing the manpower plan, department heads or project manager are responsible for staffing requirements of the 1 year ahead as part of the annual human resource planning and budgeting process to ensure sufficient lead time for the HR manager to carry out the requirement and selection process effectively to meet company's objectives. Busting and manpower planning, we are discussing about the top-down or bottom-up approach. With the end of the third quarter around the corner, it marks the time of the year for HR leader to the partner with finance counterparts to drive the annual budget and manpower planning process. A strategy HR leader would embrace this process to gain credibility for the executive team, a great opportunity to reposition and reinforce HR as a strategic partner. However, as most of the HR leaders are not finance expert and the budget process could be daunting. Some of them may just abdicate their responsibilities and leave the strategic task to their finance counterparts. Some HR leaders face difficulties in collecting relevant data for the budget process while others may have issue with knowing what data needs to be collected and where to start. Busting involves the systematic collection of both historical actual data and forward-looking business forecasts so as to achieve firm's short and long-term objectives. A widely adopted approach of busting involves using the current number of to make upward or downward adjustment to each item based upon the expectations. In most companies, staff costs make up the majority of fixed costs. HR typically collects the following information for busting the process. First, actual staff costs incurred in the current year, projected cost increase for the next year, number of project head counts for the next year. Now we are discussing about the combined approach. No matter no matter which approach a company adopts, it has its own merit and demerits. In practice, more companies go for a combined approach with both top-down and bottom-up budget process, which can address most of the downside of just applying one approach. Reconciling the top-down numbers with the outcome of the bottom-up gap analysis between current pay level and market competitive level will provide a good source of reference to access the justify whether the proposed budget is responsible. These numbers would then be cross-checked with the various key metrics and ratios to ensure that the proposed budget and manpower plan is within a reasonable range to support the business requirements. While the combined approach might seem more complicated to manage, it means the company will be in a better position to reap the benefits of the combined approach and mitigate the common flaws of individual approach. When supported with well-defined manpower planning and busting process, this combined approach is effective in linking the budget of all levels of the firm to the wider company's strategies. This put HR at the center of the executive table to promote a level of confidence and buy it that makes the business objectives more achievable. They are the some steps when the budget and manpower planning, identification, formulation and control, appraisal and selection, negotiations, implementation, monitoring and evaluation. Thank you very much.